ballin', ballin', ballin'.
McLeod for the win. No! Spurs have won it. The Spurs snap a 4-game losing skid, and Gregg Popovich gets his first victory as an NBA head coach. The final 106-105.
History is made. Gregg Popovich moves past Don Nelson as the all-time winningest coach in NBA history. 1,336 regular season victories.
Hey, Pop, it's okay to smile.
It's all right.
Okay.
No, the players are so thrilled for him. They're just not going to let him go. I mean, look at that.
You can't leave there.
That's it. It's the one time the coach is not in control.
He's trying. He's still curmudgeonly.
He wants to leave so bad.
Oh, my. To the end.
Unbelievable.
Any advice for me?
I think you just be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. And if that's not good enough for him, screw him.
Screw him.
Hey YouTube, what's going on? Mark here. Happy Saturday night and happy Samsung Radio Shack 500 Eve. Now, as y'all know, last night I was going to watch the O'Reilly 400K at the Texas Motor Speedway, which was the truck race. And remember, we thought we were going to get rain most of the night last night after how hard it rained yesterday when we were leaving work. Well, like I said in the last night Sandy Ridge recap video, the nightly recap video, sometimes it's good to be wrong. And since it never rained, that rain cell that we were supposed to get in this area last night completely missed us. We were able to give it an unexpected whirl in the happiest place in Northeast Ohio. And we were going to come home early at like 7:15 to come home, watch the truck race. And it was a fucking wreck fest. So I decided to stay out longer. Or in other words, maybe I stayed out too long. Well, that was a good call. So thank God I decided against it because it was a wreck fest, And I heard today's race, the Busch Series race, was, I think, this a little bit of the same way, which means next week is probably going to be a really big mess. Not next week. Tomorrow's going to be a really big mess. So I can feel it coming in the air tonight. So I am not looking forward to this race, although I'm only going to watch it because it's going to be cold as shit and I'm not going to have too much of a choice. So therefore, and I don't want to be stuck in this bedroom all damn day doing nothing. So therefore, we got the Samsung Radio Shack 500 tomorrow, even though I'm not looking forward to it. So be on the lookout for a race review tomorrow night. But right now, I'm here to talk about the eventual retirement of Spurs legendary coach Gregg Popovich after 29 years at the helm. So this man is going to move into the front office and become the full-time team president. So at least he's not gone all completely. So it's not as sad as, Duncan retiring in 2016 or Robinson retiring in 2003. So therefore, it kind of softens the blow a lot. So he had a great 29-year career, but his health was acting up. He had 2 health medical episodes. I kind of secretly hoping he would beat the odds and come back and coach at least one more year with Wembanyama, Castle, and Fox, but turns out it just wasn't meant to be. I mean, as the old saying goes, nothing lasts forever, nothing is forever, and of course, all good things must come to an end. So, therefore, and you know how I was personally wishful thinking that I really was hoping for and wanting, Duncan or Manu to take his place, or hell, even Becky Hammond or Coach Bud. Well, it turns out, obviously we know Duncan and Manu didn't want to do it, but surprisingly we did not, because we all know Coach Bud got fired by the Suns, after their dismal season of their own, and, he was a longtime assistant coach under Pop's staff until the 2013 finals heartbreak, and the first year we don't have Coach Bud, we end up winning the championship as redemption the next year from the 2013 heartbreak. So Therefore, and Becky Hammond was, an assistant coach with, under Pop's staff with Timmy, in the 2019-2020 season before the season was stopped due to COVID, and then eventually finished in the bubble because of COVID in the summer months. And turns out that those two were not even considered at all. Instead of speculating further options, they just say, you know what, fuck it, this is a no-brainer. We already know who we want because we felt like he did an okay job filling in as interim coach. Mitch Johnson, the Pop's assistant from what was only probably 3 or 4 games last season. Little did we know that game against the Thunder in OKC was going to be the last time we'd see Pop on the sidelines. And after that, the stroke happened. Mitch Johnson substituted as the interim coach, and now he's Pop's full-time replacement. And I know a lot of people wanted Mike Malone, and I can respect that. But, if you just I know Mitch Johnson did not do some nights did not do a good job coaching. But you never know. What my mom and dad always taught me during their years of marriage. You never know if you hold on. Oh yeah, it's just like food. You never know until you try. I mean, maybe he could improve this coming season. What will be my 29th year of what will be 32 years of life as a Spurs fan next year. So therefore, because I just finished my 28th year, because Pop was a year ahead of me. Because keep in mind, he fired Bob Hill as general manager. He fired Bob Hill as the coach during the OG tankathon. We made tankathon. We did tankathon. We made tankathon famous, obviously ourselves, but we kind of secretly did it behind closed doors before it ever became a famous thing in modern day NBA in 96, 97, which is how we got this man, Duncan. And so, we actually, did it before it became famous. During that particular season, he got rid of Bob Hill as the coach, as the general manager, and when he was a general manager, and then ended up hiring himself. And look how it turned out, because he was a year ahead of me. He started in the middle of 96, 97. I started in the middle of 97, 98. So Pop has been the Spurs coach during my entire time as a Spurs fan. Ahead of me in 1 year, and basically almost my entire life, Pop was the coach of the Spurs, and I was a fan, considering I came a year after Pop came the head coach. So therefore, I centered my whole life around this fucking team right here you see behind me, with the 2 now retired Tim Duncan jerseys I no longer use. But anyway, this man deserves his flowers. 5 championships, a 3-time coach of the year, 22 consecutive playoff appearances, 6 finals appearances, 18 consecutive 50-plus win seasons, a lot of 60-plus win seasons, a 3-time coach of the year. This man has done it all. A 1-time Olympic champion. This guy, we're losing an incredible guy on the sidelines, but gaining an incredible guy in the front office. So I guess it's happy and sad at the same time, knowing that he will be able to decide the future of this team from the front office for the next generation to witness, as the generation that's always been a Spurs fan that for the longest time, whether it's starting in the Hemisphere Arena or starting in the Alamo Dome like me, or those who started in the current arena, which it was not known as Frostbank Center, but when people started watching, like when it was still called SBC Center or AT&T Center, which I will always call it SBC Center no matter what. I only became AT&T Center because SBC and AT&T merged together, kind of like the whole Singular and AT&T merger, which is why, the 31 Singular car got changed to the AT&T car. It's on 7 in NASCAR, where Jeff Burton was behind the wheel at Richard Childress Racing. But, it took me forever after they dropped the AT&T name for Frostbank. It took me forever to stop saying AT&T, which is why I went back to calling it SBC, because I know it's either name changes are hard to get adjusted to, or sometimes people just want to stick with what they remember the most as a kid and just want to use the old names. I still call it SBC Center, which is how I remember it the most. Kind of like how most Cleveland fans will still call Rocket Arena the Gund Arena. Like, if you're a really old school fan in Cleveland, you'll still call it Gund Arena. If you're maybe middle age, if you're like the generation after that, you're still gonna call it Quicken Loans Arena. But if you're from this generation, even a few years ago, in the middle of this generation, but that grew up, before they changed the Rocket Arena, you're still going to call it Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Well, I know a lot of old school, really super old school Cleveland fans still say Gund Arena. They still say Jacobs Field instead of Progressive Field, and they still call it the Cleveland Indians or the Cleveland Guardians. Well, for us Spurs fans, as you're old as me, I'm still going to call Frost Bank Center the SBC Center. And just like in NASCAR, as a NASCAR fan, any old school NASCAR fan will still call it the Winston Cup Series, the Busch Series, and they still call ARCA the ARCA Remix Series. And the two Talladega races, I still call it the Aaron's 499 and EA Sports 500 and X, Y, and Z. So if you're an old school fan that still remembers OG names of OG anything, of course you're going to call it by the OG names if you're really strict about that. So it goes to show the next current generation how old I am. So best wishes to Pop in his, new retirement as coach, but in a new role in the front office. That's all I'm going to say for now. I don't want to run this as long as I originally tended to be, because I want to have some downtime and get to bed early tonight for tomorrow's race, even though I'm not looking forward to it. And, of course, happy Brett Bodine 11th birthday tomorrow to my number one kid in all of Sandy Ridge. One of all the ones that, look up to me and really like me a lot. Hattie Elizabeth. And, of course, happy Robbie Gordon 31st birthday tomorrow to Preston Place. So, and happy, how many years has it been? Oh, yeah, I just remembered. Tomorrow's an anniversary for me. So it happened in 2010, and then 2015 was 15 years later. No, 2010, hold on. So 2020 marked 10 years. Yeah, you're right. Okay, hang on, let me count. Tomorrow marks 15 years since Memorable Dream Day, so we got to address it in a post tomorrow for the race. Because a year ago, 15 years ago tomorrow marked an historic day in my history where I had 7 dreams in one morning. So on TikTok tomorrow after the race, let alone before or after our race review here on YouTube, we're going to make that traditional post that for our audience. Because remember, the first one was the craziest one of all, but it was good. But the rest of them were bad, even though they were started all of them. All those remaining 6 started off good, but ended bad. And I only remember the first 2 of those remaining 6. I only remember the first, second, and third dream, not the remaining 4. But I do remember waking up on this is right after I moved from Michigan into the Lenore house back to Ohio in the Sandhurst house in Brook Park, and remember when I woke up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon that day. I was so hyper I couldn't control myself because I could not believe how it just happened. My God, what a crazy morning. That's pretty much all I said for an hour, and surprisingly with my sister and mom in the room, my dad at work, they didn't even bitch at me. Luckily for me, they understood. They probably understood something crazy had happened to me in my sleep all morning, so they just left it alone. But I can't believe it'll be 15 years tomorrow since that happened. But anyway, let me close this out again. Have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. Best wishes to Pop in his retirement as coach, but in his new role in the front office. And for the rest of you, I will see you all for the next video, which will be tomorrow. We're going to go over the Samsung Radio Shack 500 at Texas Motor Speedway, a race that I'm not looking forward to. It's probably going to be a big mess tomorrow, but hopefully not as bad as the fall 2022 Dickies 500 shit show. So brace yourselves, everybody. We got ourselves, probably a lighter version of that 2022 fall shit show coming tomorrow, which basically what we saw in last year's race that we didn't finish during the same day as the Spurs regular season finale against the Pistons in Wembanyama's rookie year. So everybody stay on your toes and be prepared. See you later, everyone. Go Spurs. Go Spurs, bitch. Oh, mama Wembanyama. Go Spurs.